Today I'm going to show you how to make this necklace that I'm calling Braided Stripes. And this is just basically a diagonal peyote stitch that I've embellished on the inside and the outside and the bottom. And also got a little dangle right here too. I think it turned out really pretty. I had a book of stitches and saw the diagonal peyote stitch in it. Hadn't tried it yet, so I decided to go ahead and try it. And then had a big long strip of diagonal peyote I didn't know what I was going to do with, so I switched directions, made a V, and came back up and then decided to embellish it. And this is basically what I came up with. Now, with this particular design, this one right here that I'm going to show you today, I used Delica seed beads, or Delica, Miyuki Delica tube beads, and some round seed beads for my embellishments. On this one, it's just another version I made. I used round seed beads all the way around. I did it in my peyote. Oh, get out of there. Did it in my peyote, and I did it with my embellishments. And this one, I just did a fringing around the outside and a little bit on the bottom. And then on the inside, I just did kind of a lacy. I wasn't real particular about the way I put my beads on, so I just kind of got a lacy effect rather than a braided effect. And it's pretty too. I like it too. So you can do this with round seed beads. It's just looks different. So and I just did a basic fringing stitch here instead of braiding the outside also. So this is the difference between the two. It's just a little bit different presentation, but they're both very pretty and it's a lot of fun to do. So I am going to show you what we're going to need for this project. We are going to use today is we're going to use a round 8/0 seed bead, and you'll need several grams of it. And this one I'm using a Toho, and it is the galvanized aluminum silver tone. And then you will need 2 colors of Delica 8/0 beads. And these Delicas, I've used about 8 grams of each color, so you need 16 grams in total for your Delicas. And then you will need 2 colors of round 11/0 seed beads. I'm using Tohos in both. One is black and the other is the galvanized silver tone. And then you will need a 6mm round fire polish bead, or I suppose you could use a bicone too if you wanted to. And I'm using this baby blue, aqua blue, something like that color fire polish bead. The word went away all of a sudden. And then you'll need a clasp, and I'm just using this little silver tone toggle clasp. You will also need a beading needle and several yards of Fireline, 8-pound. I'm using the smoke Fireline today because of the color of my beads. So let's go ahead and get started with this project. Okay, so thread onto your needle a comfortable length of Fireline. 2 wingspans is probably about what you should start with, but if that's too much thread for you to work with, then just start with what you're comfortable with. Pick up just any bead and bring it down to the end of your Fireline. Leave a long tail, 12 to 16 inches, maybe longer, either that or enough to extend it so that you can work with it later, because you will need it. My stopper bead is here. I've left a tail. I'm going to come back through this bead the opposite direction and pull. And now I have a little stop bead. And now I am going to pick up 6 Miyuki Delicas. I'm going to do it by alternating colors. So I'm going to pick up one color and then the next, and then the first color, then the second, the first color, and then the second. So that you have 6 beads alternating like this. Bring them down to the end of your thread. And we will start just a regular peyote stitch. Now we've got this color first, and we know our first bead is going to lay on top of this color, so we're going to pick up this color first. So we're going to pick up one of these, and we're going to slide down into the second bead. Skip the first one, and pull our thread out. Down, not out. And tighten everything. And that's our first stitch. Then we will pick up the same color again. because we're going to skip this bead that we just came through, and we're going to go into the next bead. And so we know this bead is going to lay on top, and we want our colors to be in line. So we're going to go ahead and go through the next one. And this is what you should have. And we're going to do that again. Pick up the same color that you're going to skip and go into the next one. And pull. Now I'm just going to pull on my tail and pull my working thread and just tighten things a little bit, and I have my first 3 rows here. And now I'm going to come back this direction, just doing regular peyote. I know that I'm going to lay on top of these black beads, so I'm going to pick up black beads because I want the same color in line. So I'm going to go through the next bead, skipping the last bead, go into the next bead, skipping this one, basically just filling in the little spaces with black beads here. And then into the next one. And this is where our stitch will change a little bit. Basically, diagonal peyote is just increasing and decreasing stitches. You will increase on this side and decrease on this side. So we're coming out here of this little greenish bead. So my next row that I'm going to add on out here needs to be a black bead. So with my increase, I will pick up a black bead, and then I will pick up 2 green beads like this, because they will lay on top of each other. So we need 2 of the same color. We'll bring these beads down, and I'm just going to hold on to the black bead, and I'm going to just go around the green beads and back into the black bead. Do not go into the bead on your work, just the black bead we just added. And pull your thread down until these 2 beads line up next to each other, creating another row of peyote. Just like that. It's going to be a little loose and wobbly right now, and that's okay. We are going to tighten that up as we sew down through. So now we need to add our next green bead. We're coming out of our black bead. We're going to fill in the spaces, and we're going to be filling on top of the green beads. So we're going to add green beads as we do this. I've got that one. I want to make sure that my stitch is nice and neat, so I'm just going to adjust my tension as I do this. And then I'm going to pick up another green bead, fill in the space here with the green bead, and then I am going to stop, because on this side we need to decrease. So we'll increase on this side and decrease on this side. So we'll skip this last one, and we'll just pick up our black bead and go on top and fill in the spaces with black beads. So we've got our decrease there. I'm going to have to turn my work. It's just not accessible to my hand. We're going to add the black beads now. Into the spaces, pull them tight, into the new space that we created our last round, and now we need to increase one more time. Every single stitch will decrease 1 and will increase 1. On this end, will increase, on this end, will decrease. So now I will pick up a black bead, because I know that my green row is here, and I want my black row next, and then I want a green row, so I'll pick up 2 green, a black and 2 green. I will bring them down to my work. I will hold on to the black bead and go back into just the new black bead, not the bead underneath it, and pull my thread down. until my green beads roll on top of each other, just like this. And then I will continue my peyote. And I know that I'm coming out of the black. My next one is green, so I need to add a green. It becomes fairly obvious what colors you need to use as you get going. It's if you put the wrong one in, you'll see it. So now I don't want to go to the very last space because I need to decrease now. So I am going to turn around again. I'm coming out of this black bead. I'm going to lie my bead on top of this black bead, so I need another black bead. So now I am just going to go up into the green bead, and again fill in my spaces with black beads, and tighten my tension. Oops. Pick up another black bead. Oh, I turned us around. Sorry about that, guys. Come through my new extension here. Tighten everything up. And now I need to increase again because I've come to the end of my row and I need to increase. So I'm going to pick up a black bead and 2 green beads. Then I'm going to drop them down like this. Hold on to my black bead, come back through it and only it. Don't go into your previous bead, or you'll get all confused. I know, I did it about 20 times. And then pull them until they line up and lay correctly on top of each other, just like this. And let's get just a little closer. As we do this row, we will pick up green beads. Because we're coming out of the black bead, we're going to lie on top of the green, so we will do a row of green. And another one. And we need to stop short one space. So we won't put a bead in this one. We will roll over the top of this one. So of course we need a black one. And we'll come back down into the next one, and then into the next one. Now we're building on a diagonal, so you will always know if you have enough in your row because each row after the first 2 will have 4 beads in it. The first few will not, but every row after that will have 4 beads in it. Even though we started with 6, we are actually building, our piece is going to build down this way and get long at a diagonal this way. So you will always know that you have completed a row if there's 4 beads in it as you're going along, if you're confused. So now I need to add another black bead. Pull it into place. And I'm ready to do my increase again. So I'll pick up a black bead and 2 green beads, drop them down, hold on to my black bead, come back through it, pull my thread through and roll the 2 green beads on top of each other, adjust my tension, and then continue my row with green beads. And then the next one, and I will stop short on this side. Now I know that I can stop short because right here there's 4 beads. Here there's 4 beads. Here there's 3. So as I turn around, I will add the 4th. And then I will skip this row that already has 4, and then this row, these are the rows we'll build on. So as I'm doing this, you'll see, now I will create my 4th row. The row underneath it, I won't add 2 because it's not in the path of adding beads, and it already has 4. The next row, I will add another one too. And the next row I will add another one too, because of course they don't have 4 beads in them. And now I know when I get to my end I need to increase my stitch. I will pick up 2 of the green, 1 of the black first, hold on to the black bead, come through the black bead and pull. Roll the beads on top of each other and then continue my row. Like this. Now I know I need to stop one short here because this row has 4 in it already. So I know that that's my stopping point. So now I'm going to, plus you can tell it's just 1 space short of the area you're in. And then we will turn around. And now these 2 rows have 4 in them, so we'll basically be working out of these rows now after we add another one. So we will finish the row with black beads. And increase. Pick up a black bead and 2 green beads. Drop them down. Go through the black bead. And I'll finish this row. And we'll do this until we get to our length. Now, my necklace that I made was about 18 inches long, maybe closer to 19 actually. I did about 54 rows, counting the stripes from the very top all the way down. And then I turned around and started doing my increase and decrease opposite directions. So you will also have an extension with a herringbone stitch at the very end of your necklace, like on this one. We will add this extension too, so keep that in mind. And then just go to the length that you want to go to, and then we will come back and I will show you how to turn around. Hopefully you've got the stitch down now. And this is the way it'll look. It'll start building down. It'll have a little diagonal on this side and you'll just build all the way down and be a long strip. So go ahead and make a strip until you get to the length you think you like. Remember, you can add several inches at the end with your extension, but go ahead and make it to the point that you feel comfortable with. And like I said, I think I did about 54 rows, counting each color, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and I think I did about 54. So go ahead and do that, and then I'll be back to show you how to create the V. Okay, so I have done my strip of peyote to the length I want it. I have exactly 60 rows from the very top of 2 here to the very bottom of 2 here. It's exactly 60 as I counted each one individual color like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You get it. Anyway, that is what I did, was do 60. It's a little bit longer than my last one. And now I am ready to turn around and make my V of my necklace. So I'm going to bring you in a little closer here and show you how we're going to do this. On the bottom here, we now want to turn around. So instead of increasing, this is where we would put our increase. But we're not going to do that this time. We're going to pick up the same color that we have in our very last row of 2 here, and we're going to go into the next row with that color. And then we're going to go ahead and put the next space in. So we've got an open space here. We're just working up our little peyote again. And one more time. And here, we're to the end of that row. So we're going to do an increase here. So now we are coming out of a black bead. We're going to pick up a green bead and then 2 black beads and do our increase right here. So go ahead and bring these beads down. Let's get pretty close so you can see us really well. And we're going to hold on to the green bead, and we're just going to pass over, just ignore the 2 black beads and go through just the green bead, not the piece of work, the peyote underneath it, just the green bead we just added, and pull and lay these 2 beads, adjust them until they lay on top of each other. Sometimes they want to argue, just like that. And that's the beginning of your V. So now, since we're doing the increase on this side, we'll do the decrease on this side. So we will skip our very last row. We will not put a bead in it. So we're going to work our way down. We're coming out of a green. Our next row is black, so we'll pick up black. And we'll just work a row of black, which will just be 2 beads because we need to skip the last one. We decrease on this end now, and we'll increase on this end now. So now we need to turn around. We'll pick up a green bead. Since we're going to lie next to the green, we need to have a green one, just like this. And we're going to work our way back up the row. And then we're going to do an increase. So we're going to pick up a green bead because we know our next row should be green, and then 2 black beads because we know the row after the green one should be black beads. So we're going to do our second color, and then we're going to go through our first color that we just added, just like this. Hold on to it, pull the beads around until they lay next to each other, and work our way back down with black beads, since we're coming out of a green one, and we're going to be laying the bead next to a black one. We want a black one. And then we have to do decrease on this side, so we'll stop here. Now after this row here, as we build up into these, we'll start doing our 4 in each row again, so we could recognize it. As your piece gets longer, sometimes you'll want to skip up in your decrease row and go ahead and put a bead in there, and then you'll get confused and it'll mess everything up. The only time you won't have 4 in each row is at the very end of your necklace and the V. That's the only time that the number of beads will change in each row across. So now we're going to go ahead and work our way up this row here, leaving this one for our decrease, and you can see it on the other side too, so it's really not that confusing. All you have to do is look at it and it will talk to you. So we're to the end, and now we have our V, and we are going to do another increase. So we'll pick up a green bead and 2 black beads, bring them down, hold on to the green bead, go through it, and roll your little beads over. And then continue your row with your black beads or whatever color you're using. And now you will see that your 4 rows will start to take a hold now. Your 4 beads across. I have 4 in each row here, so I'm going to work into these now. And now I need to increase. Green, 2 black, bring it down. Hold on to my green bead, go through it, and work my way down with my black beads. Now, I know these two have, I'm going to do my decrease, and sometimes if you can't see it though, you will know that these two have 4 in it, so it's time to turn around. This one only has 3, you're going to turn around in it and give it 4. The one above it has 4, and you know you've completed that decrease right there. Work your way back up. Now you're going to go ahead and do this. It's very repetitive. Just do it all the way until you get the same, whoops, what did I do there? There we go. Until you get the same amount of beads or rows on this side as you have on your first side. And we will be back. Now I have finished my second side, and this is what I have. It's a little V of diagonal peyote. And now I'm going to begin doing my herringbone up this way so that I can make my little extension. After I get done, I will sew back down and start the embellishments on the inside. So what we will do, I'm just going to move this down and bring it up here to the end where my working thread is. And I'm just going to add one more little black bead on top of here so that I can work out from the side here. It'll just make my work a little bit more even. So I'm coming out of this black bead on top where I finished my last stitch, and I'm just going to grab another one onto my needle, another black bead, and I'm just going to pull it down next to the other 3 on top here. And then I am going to sew, pick this up, I'm going to sew into this bead here. And then I'm going to sew into the second black bead here. And then I'm going to use my round 8/0 seed beads. My silver is the color I have chosen. So I'm going to pick up 2. And I'm just coming out of this bead here. I'm going to go into the next bead and pull them down like this. And then I'm going to go into the black bead and the silver bead here. Let's get just a little closer, like this. And I'm going to begin a herringbone stitch. As I do this, it kind of straightens out. I'm going to go ahead and go down both. I'm picking up 2. I'm going to go down both because I want this connection to be very strong. I'm going to go down into the black beads again and then back up through both of the 2 on the side next to it. And as I do this, it'll straighten out. It won't stay real V like a herringbone, but that's okay. I just want it to be an extension. So I've added 2 more. I've come down through this bead. I'm going to come up through these 2 beads on this side and pick up 2 more. And I'm going to come down through this bead here. Pull my beads down and then come over to the bead next to it. I'm sorry, I'm sewing upside down and it's not working out real well. And up through the 2 new beads, or the 1 new bead, like this. Pick up 2 more, come down through this side. I'm coming out of this side, I'll go into this side, pull my beads down, coming out of this bead here, I'm going to cross over into the bead next to it and then go through the bead on top of it, just like this. We're going to keep doing this until we have about 21 rows of the herringbone, and that'll give us a few inches of extension for a necklace. So just go ahead and continue the herringbone stitch until you have as many inches of extension, however long you want your necklace to be, and then we will come back. I'm going to do 21 rows, maybe. There we go. Okay, so anyway, 21 rows of herringbone. Okay, so I have done my 21 rows of herringbone on this side, and I'm going to now put my clasp on this side just so I can be finished with it since I'm right here. So I am going to go ahead and pick up 2 11-0 seed beads and an 8-0 seed bead and drop them down. And then I will go through my clasp. I'm going to use this side of the clasp. I'm just going to go through it just like this. Back off just a little. And then I'm just going to go around my clasp and into the 8-0 seed bead like this. And pull. Bring my clasp down to the 8-0. Don't want it extremely tight against it, but close, very close. And then I will pick up 2 more 11-0 seed beads, and I will go down through the first 2 beads in my herringbone here. And pull my thread through. And then I'm going to pick this up. I'm coming out of this bead right here. I'm going to go into the one directly across from it, and then up through the bead on top of it, and the 2 11-0s and the 8-0 that I just added, just like this. And pull the thread through. And then go around the clasp again, and go down into the 8-0, the 2 11-0s, and the first 2 in your herringbone. And we're going to do this 3 or 4 times until it's nice and secure, and we'll be back. Okay, so I've secured my clasp by sewing through several times. And I'm coming out of the second bead right here in my herringbone after securing my clasp. And I'm just going to start sewing down 2 beads at a time so that I can get down to my main body of work. So I'm just going to go down 2 beads on this side. Then I'm going to cross over and go down 2 beads on this side. This is in an attempt not to pull the herringbone all funny. It takes a minute to get between them, but just do 2 at a time, 1 on one side, or 2 on one side, 2 on the next side, and just work your way down. Just like this. When we get all the way down to our main body of work, I'll be back. And straighten them as you do them too, because sewing through them again kind of messes them up a little bit. So don't pull the thread real tight, and kind of straighten them as you work your way back down so that they're not all jumbled and funny looking. Okay, I've come all the way down doing 2 at a time. I'm now coming out of this bead right here. I lied earlier, said we were going to do the inside of the necklace. We are not. We are going to start our first layer of embellishment on the outside. We will not do the braiding part yet, but there are 2 embellishments that go on the outside. So I'm coming out of this little bead here. I'm going to skip over to this side and come out of the black bead right here. And this is the outside of my necklace. I will back off and show you so that you can get an idea of where we're at here. See if I can get it all in the frame here. So this is my bee, and this is the outside of my necklace. So when I came through the black bead on the outermost side of my necklace here. And then I'm going to start my embellishment out here between these beads on this side. So we're going to get closer again so you can see what I'm doing. Just realize that this is the outside of the necklace. So we're coming out of this little black bead here on the outside of the necklace. The very first one is a little bit further than the rest of them from each other. So I'm going to work from this bead to this green bead here. Since I extended this one out, that kind of excludes this one from this very first embellishment. So this very first one will be a little bit different. So I'm going to start working with my little round 11-0s. I'm going to pick up a silver, a black, and an 8-0, my round 8-0, and then a black and a silver. And then I am just going to go from this bead here into the black bead I'm coming out of into the very first green bead on the outside of the necklace. And I'm going to pull. Just like that. Now, I'm just going to work from this bead to this bead, from this bead to this bead. And the way we're going to do that is we're just going to pick up a black, or I'm using black. I'm going to pick up my black seed bead, 11-0, then an 8-0, and an 11-0 in my round seed beads. And I'm going to go from this bead to this bead. And I'm going to do the same embellishment. It's not going to lay in between perfectly. It's going to kind of lay at an angle, and that's what we want. That's okay. Make sure this entire embellishment is very tight, though. Don't pull your peyote out like I just did, but make sure your embellishment is tight. So we'll pick up another black, 11-0, an 8-0, and an 11-0, and I'm going to move into the next one on my peyote stitch. So I'm just going to work from bead to bead, just putting in my 11-0, my 8-0, and my 11-0. And we're going to do this until we get all the way to the bottom of our necklace here. And then we will be back. Okay, so I have done my entire side of our first little embellishment here. Now after you do this, as you're pulling tight, it will kind of curl your peyote. So you have to make sure to adjust your thread. You don't want your embellishment to be loose at all, but you don't want it so tight that you'll curl up your peyote. Now it is going to curve a little bit, and that's okay. That's what we want. But we don't want it to be curled up or funny. So you have to adjust your thread when you get to this point. Make sure you stretch it out. Everything is nice and neat. If you don't do that, your necklace will be all curled and weird. And then we're coming out now from the very bottom of our green bead after coming all the way to the end of with our embellishment here. We're coming out right here. So now we are going to put on our little bottom dangles, and then we'll work our way back on the other side. And the way we're going to do that is we are going to pick up I'm going to pick up a black bead and an 11-0 silver bead. Actually, I'm going to use an 8-0. So I'm going to use a black bead of an 11-0, and then a silver of an 8-0, and then a black bead of an 11-0, and then I'm going to drop down my little fire polish bead. I'm going to pick up a 6mm fire polish bead, and then I'm going to pick up a little silver 11-0, and I'm going to drop the 11-0 down, go around the 11-0, and then come back up into all of my beads, including the bead I'm coming out of on the peyote. Just like that. And pull it up tight. Make sure my little fringe is nice and neat. Then I'm going to come into the middle bead on my peyote right here. Yeah, that's a little too close. I can't stay in frame. And then we're going to pull through that one. And then this time we're going to pick up 2 black beads, or 2 11-0s in the black, an 8-0, 2 11-0s in the black, an 8-0, 2 11-0s in the black, and then we will pick up our fire polish bead. Drop them down, and then pick up a little silver 11-0, drop it down. Let's get out here so you can see. We're going to go around the 11-0 and then back up through all the beads we just added. Make sure you get them all, and then come back up through the bead in the peyote that we started out exiting in. just like this. And now that you're coming out at the top of this green bead in the peyote, or whatever color you have, go down into the next one. And do the same thing that you did on the other side here. So we will pick up one 11-0 in black, an 8-0, an 11-0 in black, our fire polish bead, and then an 11-0. Drop it down. Come around the 11-0 in silver and back up through the fire polish and the beads on top of it. Goodness sakes. And then back up through the green bead in the peyote, like this, and pull it tight. This is what you should have. And now we can start the embellishment coming up the other side. So I will just pick up my black 11-0, my silver 8-0, and my black 11-0, and I will go from this bead that I'm exiting into the very next edge bead on the outside of my necklace. And I will work all the way up this entire side, and then when we get to the top, I'll be back. Okay, so I have finished my entire side of my embellishment on the outside of my necklace, my first embellishment. Now I have stopped right before I got to the very top here. So let me show you. Stop at the second green bead here, or whatever color you're using. You will have an pushed in peyote line, and then two more in your little strips of peyote there. So what I've done is I've just stopped with my working thread and left it laying there for the moment. Now I have put my needle on my tail. I pulled my stopper bead off, and now I am coming out of the little black bead, and I've got my needle on my tail, and I'm going to pick up one more black Miyuki Delica, and I am going to put it on my needle and come down through this green bead right here on the outside, just like we did on the other side. And then I'm going to come up through this bead here, the bead next to the one that I'm coming out of, after adding the top bead, pull my thread in between the beads, and then come through the little black bead on the top here. Now with my tail, I'm going to start my herringbone just like I did on the other side. So I'm coming out of this little bead right here. I'm going to come down through the bead next to it and the bead underneath it. We want to anchor to 2 beads in the peyote stitch. Then come back up through the, I'm coming out of this bead here, I'm going to cross over into this bead here, come up, come up into the black bead right above it, and into my silver bead that I just added. And I'm going to go ahead and do my 21 units of herringbone on this side and add the other side of my clasp, just like we did on this side. If you need to extend your tail, go ahead and do that. Remember to watch the video extending Fireline for bead weaving. If you don't know how to extend your Fireline, watch that. Extend your Fireline if you need to. Go ahead and finish off your 21 units, sew back down, tie off in your peyote, and cut your thread off, and we'll be back. Okay, so I did my herringbone and put my other side of my clasp on, and I sewed back down my herringbone. And then I am now coming out of the little black bead right here on the bottom. After I did my herringbone, I just came through this little first Delica bead, and then I'm going to go back up into my herringbone, a couple of beads, I'm going to grab the thread bridge and tie a little knot. Now messing around on the herringbone does make it a little bit messy. When you sew back down, you can sew back through all of them if you want, instead of every two, if you don't like the way that it kind of moves your herringbone around. Mine also looks a little bit more obvious because I'm using smoke Fireline. But either way, it secures it when you come back down. It makes it a little stronger. So now I'm just going to sew. I've tied my knot here. I'm going to sew back down a couple of my little herringbones back into my Delica bead, and then back up a few more beads, and if I can get up some of these beads, that would be nice. Okay, and then I'm going to cut off my thread because I have sewn through this so much. It's very secure. I don't really have to worry about it, so I'm just going to cut my thread off. And now we're done with our tail, and we're going to go back to our working thread. So we'll take our needle and put it back on the working thread. I put my needle back on my working thread, and I'm coming out right here from my last embellishment. Now I need to do like I did on the other side over here. I did a little bit different. Remember, a few more beads. So I'm going to pick up a silver 11-0, a black 11-0, an 8-0, a black 11-0, and a silver 11-0. And I'm coming out of this green bead right here. I'm going to go up into this black Delica right up here, avoid my herringbone stitch, and pull this embellishment through. Just like that. And then I'm going to now sew down into this little, I'm coming out of this black bead right here. I'm going to sew into this little Delica right here. Pull my thread through. Then I'm going to go down into this Delica here. And then over into this Delica here and up through this black one right here. It's just going to put me in position to start my embellishments on the inside. Coming out of this little Delica on top here now. And we're going to pick up 8 seed beads, 11-0s, onto our needle. Now I'm going to start with my silver color. I'm going to skip this bead on the inside and go directly down into the next one. Just like this. And now I'm going to pick up 6 of my black seed beads onto my needle. Like this. And I am going to move my thread aside like this. I want to go in front of this embellishment, over the top of this bead with my thread, and down into the bead I skipped, making sure my needle comes out in front. Just like this, so that my needle isn't under my thread whatsoever. And then I will pick up 6 more, or I'm sorry, 8 of my silver seed beads. We'll use 8 of the silver and 6 of the black. So I lost count. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I can't talk and count, I guess. Okay, so now I'm coming out of this bead from my black embellishment. I'm going to skip this one that I started in with my black embellishment and go into this bead directly down into it, making sure that my needle comes out on top of my work here. Then I'm going to push this little embellishment aside so that I can see this bead here that I skipped. And I'm going to go over the top of this bead and into this bead with my 6 beads, my black beads. So I'm going to pick up 6 11/0s in my black color. And then I'm going to go over the top. I'm going to move my thread to the inside of my work so that my needle doesn't go under it, and I'm going to go over the top. Now it's important that you go in front of each embellishment and that you stay on the outside of your thread. You do not want your needle to cross under your thread, or your braid will not look braided. It'll just look sloppy or random or lacy, however you want to describe it. So now I'm coming out of the bead that I skipped here, and I am going to pick up 8 seed beads of my silver color onto my needle. Like this. And then I'm coming out of this bead, I'm going to skip this one that my black embellishment is in, and I am going to go directly down into this one and pull, making sure that my embellishment goes in front of my last one, just like that. And then I'm going to push it aside so that I can see the bead I skipped, which is right here. Let's hold it so you can see it a little better and get just a little bit closer. Okay, so I'm coming out of this one now. I'm going to pick up 6 seed beads onto my needle in my black color now. And I'm going to tighten my braid here. Now I'm going to go in front of my last embellishment and put my thread to the inside and go into the bead I skipped with the silver embellishment and the bead that my previous black embellishment started in, just like this. And pull, making sure that my black beads go down in front of my silver beads, just like this, and pull tight. And you can see we're starting to create a braid. And again, I will pick up 8 of my silver beads. Like this. And I'm coming out of this black bead right here. I am going to go skip this one, go directly down into this one, making sure that my beads fall in front of my last embellishment. Push it aside with your thumb. Make sure your thread is to the inside when we do this, so just move it over your hand like this. My thread is so long I can't seem to do that. And then pick up 6 of your second color beads. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay. And I'm coming out of this bead here. I'm going to go up into the bead I skipped with my silver embellishment and make sure that my needle comes out towards the outside of my work here and that my embellishment falls over the top of the silver beads here. And I'm just going to continue this, alternating from silver to black, watching the way that I put them in so that they stay uniform and neat, and work all the way down to here. And we'll be back. Okay, so I have finished my embellishment all the way down until my 6 11/0 seed beads have wrapped around the last black bead on the inside and connected up to the bead over the top of that one. So it's my last 6 seed bead embellishment. So therefore I'm coming out of the top of this little bead here, the second black bead from the bottom of my inside of my necklace here. And then I'm going to pick up onto my needle. I'm going to pick up 8 of my first color, my silver color, 1 of my second color 11/0 seed bead, which is black. So I have silver, 8 silver, 1 black, a fire polish bead, and a 11/0 in the silver. And I'm going to drop it down, just like this. Then I'm going to go around the 11-0 up into the fire polish bead and then just into the black bead right here and pull. Just like that. And now I'm going to pick up 8 of my silver seed beads. So I'm going to pick up 8. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and I am going to skip this bead here and go into this bead here. Then I will start my braiding effect again. Now, I need to pick up 6 of my black beads. And then I'm going to come down into, over the top of this bead and down into this one right here. Just like that. And I'm going to do the same thing, working my way up as I did on this side. I will push my 6 beads aside here. I will pick up my 8 of my silver now. Like this. And I'm coming out of this bead. I'm going to go directly into, I'm going to skip this one, go directly up into this one, making sure that as I pull, my embellishment is going to go in front of my last embellishment, just like that. Now I will pick up 6 of my second color, which is my black, onto my needle, and I will push my thread over the top like this, push my last embellishment over, and come through the bottom of this bead that I skipped with my silver embellishment. Pull it up like this. Just like that. Now your thread will be underneath instead of over the top. We're just doing just exactly the opposite as we did before. Push your embellishments aside, kind of straighten them up, clean them up, make sure they're braiding, and then you're coming out of this bead here. We're going to pick up 8 of our silver beads. Like this. And then we're coming out of this bead, we're going to skip this bead and go directly up into this bead. And you can see this one has to go down underneath. It's the same thing, it's always in front of it, it's just that now in front is on the inside of the necklace, whereas in front before it was on the outside, towards the outside part of the necklace. Just make sure each one falls in front of the other one like that. And just arrange them and move on up. Keep your tension good and move on up the side of your necklace. When you get all the way to the top, we will be back. A little hint. Now it's more difficult to do this side of the embellishment simply because you're trying to look underneath your beads and it's hard. So just turn your necklace over. And then, see, I'm coming out of this seed bead here because I've just done my 8 embellishments, and I need to, or my 8 seed bead embellishment, I need to go down into this one with my 6. So I'm going to pick up my 6 seed beads onto my needle here, and I am going to make sure that my thread is towards the inside of my necklace here, and I'm going to come up through the bottom of this bead and pull my 6 seed beads up, just like that. And it's a lot easier. And now I will do my 8 seed bead embellishment. So just turn your necklace over once you get past the dangle part and do it on this side. You can try it the other way, see which way that you prefer, but it's just a lot easier if you turn your necklace over And so I need to skip this seed bead and I need to go into this one. And then I want to go in front of this embellishment, so I'm going to push this one aside. I'm going to pick up my 6 seed beads and make sure that my thread is towards the inside of my necklace, because I don't want my thread to be under when I come back up, or it'll confuse me and mess my braid up. So now my thread is towards the inside of my necklace, and I'm going to come back up through this bead, keep my thread on the inside, and pull. That is the easiest way to do the other side of the braiding. If you try to do it from the front, it's just a little bit more difficult. So anyway, that's a hint for you. Okay, so I have done my entire side of braiding on the second half here. And I have my very last strand of 8 little 11-0 seed beads on my thread. It's the next one in the sequence of the braiding. Now, normally you would just come directly up this little 8-0 seed bead right here. But instead of doing that, this time we're coming out of here. We're just going to go over the top. Instead of coming in through the bottom of the 8-0 like we've been doing as we worked our way up our necklace, we're going to come over the top of the 8-0, just like this, and go into the top of it, up where your herringbone is, and come down through the Delica seed bead there. Now I'm going to turn my work because we are going to start the embellishments on the outside. It's the same stitch basically. Back off a little bit here. But we will use a different sequence of beads, and we will work out of the 8-0 seed beads instead of out of the Delicas this time. So here I am. Let me get a little closer so you can see what I'm going to do to work my way over to the outside. I'm coming out of the bottom of this little Delica here. I'm going to sew up into the next Delica and just avoid my 11-0s in my herringbone stitch and pull my thread through. And then I'm coming out of the top of this little Delica seed bead. I'm going to go into the top of the next one, right here, and slide through, just like this. And now my thread is coming out of the bottom of my end Delica here. And I'm going to slide down into this first 11-0 seed bead in my outside embellishment and the 11-0 next to it, just like this. Then I'm going to go into the 8-0 seed bead and exit. And this is where I will start my embellishments. So, show you the series I'm going to pick up. I'm going to back off just a little so we stay in frame here. And I'm going to pick up a black 11-0, a silver 11-0, a black 11-0, a silver 8-0, a fire polish bead, a silver 8-0, a black 11-0, a silver 11-0, and a black 11-0. So this is what I will have on my needle. And then we are going to work out of these 8-0 seed beads now. We're going to skip this embellishment here and go down to the next one. And we're just going to go through the 8-0 seed bead. Now you have to go in at an angle like this so that you avoid the 11-0s on either side, and then pull your embellishment down. It'll just make a loop, just like that. Now this is exactly the same stitch we were doing before, except for now we're working out the 8-0s. Now I'm going to pick up, to do my second half of my braid here, I'm going to pick up 6 of my silver 11-0s. So I've decided silver is the color I want to braid this embellishment with. So I'm going to pick up 6 of them, just like this. And I'm coming out of the bottom of this 8-0. I'm going to go into the top of this 8-0, keeping my thread to the outside here, and pull without crossing my thread. just like that. Now, with this braiding, there's going to be a lot of confusion because of the thread. Now, if your thread does get on the wrong side, if you're not on the, you'll always want to be in front of the embellishment you just made. Your thread will always be in front. Even on the other braids, you'll always have your thread in the front. Now, if you're doing it on the inside, it'll still be in the front of your embellishment. It'll just be on the other side. So you'll have to, if you accidentally cross it, you'll have to go under your beads and pull your thread back through. Otherwise, your braid will not come out correct. So now we've got this little embellishment here and then this little embellishment here. We're coming out of this 8/0 seed bead. We're coming out of the bottom of it. So now we're going to pick up a black 11/0, a silver 11/0, a black 11/0, an 8/0 seed bead, a fire polish bead, an 8/0 seed bead, a black 11/0, a silver 11/0, and a black 11/0. Just like this. And I'm coming out of this one here, out of the bottom. I just want to go directly into this 8/0 seed bead through the top, just like this. Making sure that my embellishment falls over the top of my last embellishment. Just like that. Now, it looks very strange when you very first start it, and that's okay. It'll start to lay in like a braid. Then we'll pick up 6 8/0 seed beads, or not 8/0s, 11/0s in the silver, and we're coming out of the bottom of this 8/0. We're going to go into the top of this 8/0 right here, and we're going to pull our thread over the top. Just like that. So now my thread is coming out in front of my embellishment, and I'm ready to do my next one. So I will pick up a black 11/0, a silver 11/0, a black 11/0, an 8/0 seed bead, a fire polish bead, a black 11/0, a silver 11/0, and a black 11/0. And I'm coming out of the bottom of this 8/0 seed bead. I'm going to skip this one, and I'm going to go into the next one, and I'm going to go straight down through this 8/0 seed bead, just like this, and pull. And now you can see my braid starting to happen here. And this necklace, at a glance, looks simple, but this braiding makes it a little bit more difficult. So you just have to take your time and figure out where your beads are, where your thread is, and figure out exactly how to make it braid instead of just be random. I'm showing you how I'm doing it, but when you get to it, it is a little bit more confusing than you think it's going to be. So it might take a little bit of time to get it down. So I'm coming out of the bottom of this little 8/0 seed bead now. I need to go up into the next 8/0 seed bead, up here, and come down through the top of it. Keep my needle in front of my embellishments and pull down, just like that. Now I'm coming out of the bottom of this one. We'll do one more of our big embellishments here. Do a black 11/0, a silver 11/0, a black 11/0, an 8/0 seed bead, a fire polish bead, an 8/0 seed bead, a black 11/0, a silver 11/0, and a black 11/0, like this. I'm coming out of the bottom of this bead here. I'm going to skip this one and go into the top of this one and pull straight down. Make sure everything is tight so that your braid looks correct as you move down. And continue to do this until you get all the way to the very bottom of your necklace, down here, and we'll be back. So I have finished my entire side of my braided embellishment on the outside of my necklace. I am coming out, let me readjust here so that you can see where I'm at. I am coming out of this 8/0 seed bead right here, right before we go down into our bottom Delicas and where our little dangles are, our little fringing. So I'm coming out of this 8/0 seed bead after I did my last embellishment with my fire polish bead. I'm not going to come back around the front of it with the 6/0 seed beads. I'm going to just stop here. And then I am going to, since I'm coming out of this 8/0, I'm going to sew down into this 11/0 and down just into this green Delica on the bottom here. And I'm going to pull my thread through. Then I'm going to sew up this one right here. Pull my thread, make sure I don't grab any beads. After coming out of this little green bead here, we're going to go down into the next green bead. And we're going to turn ourselves around in our fringe. So we're going to go all the way down the entire fringe here. Takes a second to get through. Then we'll go up through our little 11/0 on the end of this fire polish bead right here. And then come back up through the fringe and through the Delica right there. Make sure you don't pull your thread so tight that you mess up your little fringy. And then go through this little black bead and exit this little black 11/0 right on top of the Delica, and then exit the 8/0 right here. Now we are in position to start our next row of embellishments. And we'll go ahead and start it on this side, and then we'll turn it over and do it. It's a lot easier when you're doing your braiding, when you're coming back, to do it on the opposite side, because then you're trying to reach underneath your piece all the time. So I'm going to turn this just so I can get it to my hand here. And we're going to start with our embellishment with the fire polish bead. So we're going to pick up a black bead, a silver 11/0, a black 11/0, an 8/0, a fire polish bead, an 8/0, a black 11/0, a silver 11/0, and a black 11/0. Now I'm coming out of this 8/0 here. I'm going to skip this one, and I'm going to go into this one right here. And I'm going to bring my needle out towards the back of my piece. Just like that. And now I'm going to turn my piece over. Like this. And now I'm going to start working just like I did before. I'm going to pick up 6 silver seed beads. And I'm going to put my thread towards the inside here, and I'm going to go back over. I'm coming out of this 8/0. I'm going to go back down into this one, and I'm going to go up it through the bottom of it like this, and exit just the 8/0. Maybe. Just like that. And bring my thread on the outside. You want your thread always towards your embellishment, always on the outside, like this. And then we will do our next one. We will pick up a black 11/0, a silver 11/0, an 8/0, a fire polish bead, an 8/0, a black 11/0, a silver 11/0, and a black 11/0, like this. And we're coming out of this bead in the top. We're going to skip this one and go up into the next 8/0. These 8/0s get a little tight as you have put your embellishments through them. So you just have to kind of work your way through it. Make sure your thread is on the outside of your piece here and pull. We'll do one more 8/0 or 11/0 or silver embellishment. So we'll pick up 6 of them. And we're coming out of the top of this one. We're going to move everything aside and go over the top of our last embellishment. Go into the bottom of this 8/0 seed bead. Avoid the 11/0 on the other side. Now we want like that. And see, I crossed my thread, so I can just come back through my beads like this, like that. And you're going to do that a million times. If you get your thread crossed, you always want to make sure you're just on top of everything. And you can go underneath your beads. It's not a big deal. You just have to make sure that you keep your thread on the same side at all times, and that you're always going over the last embellishment with the next embellishment. And work your way all the way to the top on the bottom side of this necklace, and we'll be back. Okay, so I finished my entire side of my outside braid. When I get to the very top here, with my very last embellishment, I just sewed up through these little beads here, up through here, came into my main beads, tied off on a thread bridge here, sewed down into my peyote, tied off, sewed down some more, and cut my thread. And that's how you will end your necklace. And this is what it looks like. See if I can get it halfway neat here. It turns out really pretty. I really like this design. It's really fun and different, and I just really like it. And I hope you do too. And I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and give it a try. Thanks everyone. Bye-bye.